Welcome to Vlogmas Day 9 for the Worthy Leadership Group and the Worthy Podcast. Hello, I'm Steve Worthy, CEO of Worthy Leadership Group and also the host of the Worthy Podcast. Today's episode, we are going to talk about the 4 things that I dislike, if you will, about podcasting. Yesterday's episode, we talked about the 4 things that I actually like about podcasting, and I can actually probably turn both of these into pretty long, actually episodes that could appear on our podcast. But I wanted to do this on Vlogmas because I know we get a lot of questions about podcasting. And we've actually been able to help a lot of people out, providing some structure and also providing some lessons learned, mistakes that we've made, things along that line. And so this one is going to be talking a little bit about the 4 things that I kind of dislike about podcasting. And I don't know if they're dislikes, but I guess they're just like, when you think about something that you dislike, it's often something that you don't like to do. It's maybe not that you actually dislike them. It's just like, oh my gosh, I dread actually doing some of these things. And that's probably what we're going to talk about a little bit today. I'm going to start with number 1 is actually going to be number 4 from yesterday's Vlogmas. So we're going to start with that one. So number 1 thing I dislike about the idea and about podcasting is this concept, and we talk about it at length in several of our podcasts and our podcast interviews, is this idea about imposter syndrome. And I know that as we've been going through this Vlogmas, right, I think a lot of us have been dealing with the imposter syndrome. Who's going to look at our video? Who's going to comment? What are people going to think about the video? All these different things that go through our mind about something that we're going to be putting out to the masses, something that we're going to be putting out about ourselves so that other people can critique. Even if we're actually pretty good at it, it doesn't matter. In one of our episodes, our 2-part episode about imposter syndrome, we talk about Albert Einstein, we talk about Maya Angelou, we talk about Serena Williams, we talk about Tom Hanks, we talk about Michelle Obama. These are prominent, successful people in their own right, within their own fields, and all of them have dealt with imposter syndrome. And one of the things that is frustrating about imposter syndrome is that because it continuously puts you in this cycle sometimes of achievement where you achieve something but you don't feel like you've deserved it. And so guess what you start to do? You start to go after another achievement just so that you can prove to yourself that you deserve that previous achievement that you obtained. And so it's a vicious cycle in certain degrees. But the one thing that I've been able to do with imposter syndrome is to use it as fuel for our success, for the success of others, because I think it's something that you continuously deal with. And I don't mean that it becomes a debilitating thing. I just think that the different levels that you achieve, there are going to always be these roles. There are always going to be this some particular mindset that you may not deserve it, or that you don't feel like your achievement is worth all the accolades that you're receiving. And to some degree, it's actually a good thing to have because it keeps you humble. And so whenever I think about imposter syndrome, even though I'm talking about that fact that I dislike it, I actually like it in the context that it keeps me humble and keeps me focused in on getting better. It keeps me focused in on the next thing. It keeps me focused in on making sure that my content is relevant for the next person, that my episodes are continuously being improved upon. And so even like I said, I this is supposed to be about things that I dislike about podcasting. The imposter syndrome is something that really helps you kind of elevate yourself if you allow yourself to give yourself space to embrace it and to accept that it's going to be there, and then be able to move forward based off of that. If you can't tell, I could talk about that for all day long, and I got 3 more to do, so I apologize, but I'm going to go through the next 3 as well. So number 2 is editing and re-listening to my podcast. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? Whenever you create something, you have to edit it. You have to kind of proofread it, right? Like a paper or something like that for grad school, whatever it was, right? You always have to go back and reread it and things like that. I always hated that. That's just me. I always hated going back through. I always felt like, man, dude, this is good enough. And whoever's going to edit this podcast, they're going to fix everything for me. But one thing that I've had to learn how to do is to go back through and sit through all of my episodes right after I record them, and edit and fix and adjust and critique. And I think that's the reason why I don't like doing it, is because I have to critique myself, right? I often talk about the best and the most rewarding aspect of leadership is leading yourself first. It's the best relationship that you can have, is leading yourself first. And so I have to go back into that mindset when I think about podcasting and editing my podcast, is that I'm leading myself again. I'm going back through and I'm editing and I'm making sure that I'm giving the best that I have for the people who are actually going to be listening to it. So even though I dislike it, it's a natural aspect of what I need to do. Number 3, this one is the one that keeps me up at night, and it is marketing. It is marketing my podcast, and even a little bit of, worthy leadership groups. I'll put kind of both of them together a little bit. And I know this is, as an entrepreneur and as a business person, I can talk to my clients all day long about what they need to do, about their marketing, about their strategy, and about operations, all these different things. But I have almost not taken a back seat, but I almost leave marketing up to chance to some degree when I think about my podcast and also my Worthy Leadership Group. Now, I've actually taken a step in the right direction. I've got a content strategist who's actually been helping me with my content thus far with Worthy Leadership Group, and also with the Worthy podcast. And I have to say, I'm pretty stoked that I've actually been able to get this far with the number of downloads that I've had with the Worthy podcast, without having like this solid structure with marketing in place. And so now I feel excited that I'll have a strategy in place. I should be able to kind of move forward. And so hopefully this will be constructive for you as well. I know we are bootstrapping, and I know we're going through a lot of this marketing stuff and business development on our own. And I know that part of it is something that we don't really truly like to do. We like to create the content. We like to get it out there. We want to talk to people about it. We want to help people problem solve and help people save time and lead faster, which is what we focus on. And we want them to be the best version of themselves. We want their future self to be proud, right? We do all these different things, but we got to make sure that the marketing side of the business is 100% solid. If it's not, then it doesn't matter what our messaging is. It doesn't matter what we say, what we do. Our message will fall on deaf ears because we're going after the wrong people, or we're saying the wrong things at the wrong time. And so from a marketing standpoint, it's something I dislike, but it's something that I've actually been able to kind of get over and move past. The last one is probably related to, number 4 is probably related to number 1 with the imposter syndrome aspect. And it talks about the downloads. And for those who are who want to know, downloads is really the number of people that listen to your podcast per episode, right? I would almost liken it to, the number of followers that you have whether it's on, Instagram or, LinkedIn and things like that. It's the number of people that like you, the number of people that maybe like your content or they want to hear more from you. The number of downloads that we've been actually able to achieve, we just launched in August, has exceeded my expectations. And we had a goal this year, for the end of this year, of a certain number of downloads. And honestly, we are actually probably going to not double that, but we are actually going to be kind of close to doubling that number that we had set out from when we launched to the end of December. So I'm pretty excited about that. The issue that I dislike and I have to always kind of war against is the comparison aspect. Very similar to all of us that have been in business, is how do we not compare ourselves to the next person? How do we not compare ourselves to a person that's in our genre and that they're doing exceedingly well? And one of the things that I guess I dislike about it is that whenever you get into almost any industry, you're always going to get people that are going to pit themselves against each other. And for me, my message is my message. And I think this is going to be something for whoever's going to be listening to this. Your message is your message, right? Whatever you have to say, doesn't matter the industry, doesn't matter the marketplace, doesn't matter the size of your business, doesn't matter the location of your business. Your message is going to be your message. And so I'm constantly having to remind myself is that regardless of how many downloads that the next person is getting, the person next to me is getting, is that every person that listens to The Worthy Podcast is listening to The Worthy Podcast for a reason, and hopefully they're coming back and that they like the content and that they like the information. And so I'm continuously having to get over that idea about comparing myself from a download standpoint. And if you're in the YouTube sphere, right, you think about subscribers and you think about views and all this other stuff. And the moment that I took my eyes off the downloads, and what I mean by that is I focused solely and continuously on the content, that's when I started to see my download numbers increase. When I focused on the content and the interesting guests that we have, our download numbers started to increase, and they continue to increase. And so I said that to say is that make sure that you're focused in on your content. Make sure that you're focused in on what you can provide, the value that you can provide, and not the next person, because whatever it is that you have is unique to you, and it's going to be unique to whoever your market is and to whoever your listeners are, if it is something that you want to do from a podcast standpoint, and just be focused in on that. So once again, thank you for listening to Vlogmas Day 6 for Worthy Leadership Group and The Worthy Podcast. We hope this content, that you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe, click a link down below, take our assessment, learn a little bit more about Imposter Syndrome. All these things are down below. Have a great day, and God bless.